Tell me a little bit about what we're seeing at E3 of Halo 2.
So what you're seeing is right about an 8.5 minute in-game demo of Halo 2. What we wanted to try to do was, instead of doing a movie or some crazy thing, which is to really create an in-game experience, an experience that is never the same twice. And so hopefully people come back and they're seeing a little bit of what the Chief is up to these days.
Now, obviously everybody was anticipating the chance to play it, so why did you guys decide to not have it be playable?
Yeah, so we want to tell a great story in Halo 2, and so we tried to create an experience where our fans could come in and really see what the Chief is up to these days. Clearly Halo 2 leaves off right where Halo 2 begins, right where Halo 1 pretty much ends. Earth is under attack, and it's Chief's chance to liberally apply boot to ass to the Covenant. And we thought to do that experience, that the best way to do it would be to bring fans into a theater. So we have this big theater that seats like 65 people, and to take them through what the game is really going to play like.
Now, in terms of what it's going to play like, the demo showed an awful lot of the gameplay, but I mean, do you guys still have a few things up your sleeve, or was that kind of
We might have a few tricks here and there, but hopefully we showed some cool stuff that people are going to do. I think one of the things people are really excited about is they saw the boarding, and Chief getting on the Ghost and taking the Brute to task and taking over his vehicle. So that's a fun thing to do, but we'll probably have a few more surprises for everybody.
Now, of the gameplay stuff that you showed, what in that batch of stuff was one of the most important things that you guys felt you needed to add to Halo 2?
Well, I think the most important thing is, people look at whether the graphics are better or the new features that we've added, but really all of those things do is to help serve telling a better story. And so, the thing in Halo 2 is, sure, we want to do more, better, bigger, gooder, but all of that is so that we can tell a better story with great characters and great gameplay. And certainly, later on months we'll be talking more about what we're doing on live, so that'll be exciting as well.
Now, in terms of the story for Halo 2, was the story for Halo 2 already sort of like in mind when you made when Halo 1 was kind of being created?
Well, I think there is the Halo universe, and so the team who just have done an amazing job with this demo, have always thought about what this universe is like. But really, ship Halo 1, take some time off, and then come back and think about all the crazy ideas and all the cool stuff that could happen, and how that would make sense inside of the universe that the Bungie teams created. And so that sort of wild idea thing is now narrowed down to a real focus, and so now we're making the game.
Now, onto the bigger, better, gooder stuff. Is there anything you can tell us about the graphics engine in terms of how much of an improvement it is over the first one?
I think people have to see that for themselves. So we've talked about how we're using bump mapping and some interesting things, but the best thing to do is to look at the demo or to look at the screenshots and go, wow, that is in-game. I'm going to get to play that. So
nice. And it will have Xbox Live support?
It will have Xbox Live support. Yeah, I mean, Xbox Live is an awesome system. We all play Xbox Live around the office, and so hopefully we'll do some fun things with it.
In terms of the sort of more nuts and bolts tech stuff, it's still going to have Dolby 5.1.
Still, sound is massively important, and Dolby 5.1 is an important part of the game. So.
And 480 progressive scan, or are you guys going to shoot for something a little higher?
We're not talking about any more than that, but it'll have 480. But we'll see.
Okay. And I guess to wrap up, when will be the next time, I guess, Bungie and everybody kind of sticks their head up out of the gopher hole and shows us a little bit more?
Boy, that's several months. We've got a lot of work to do to make a game that everybody's going to like. So, I don't know, probably 6-7 months from now, we'll have a chance to talk.
Okay.
So.
And currently you guys are planning on shipping Halo to?
Sometime next year. I mean, the big thing for us is we'll ship it when it's ready. We want to make sure that the game is really good and that it's a glorious successor to Halo 1. So we're not gonna settle for any less than really, really good, really, really fun.
Nice. Is that good?
My name is Brian Gerard, and I'm the community manager at Bungie Studios. We've already got 4 maps out there, and hopefully people were excited about them as we were. They're great maps. They really raised the bar for the Halo 2 gameplay experience. The remaining 5 maps are equally diverse. One of the maps we have is called Gemini. It's a sort of a medium to small arena type map, which is actually based on a map that came out, part of Bungie's Marathon trilogy years back. The original map was called Duality. So this map shares geometry with that map, but obviously has had a substantial graphical overhaul. It's now set up to sort of represent the interior of a Covenant ship. Specifically, it's like the Prophet's personal chamber. It's really dark, really moody. It's got a cool tree in the atrium. It's really great for some running gun Slayer action. One of the next maps we have is Backwash. And Backwash is a really interesting map. Graphically, it's unlike anything else we have out there right now. Backwash is loosely inspired by the swamp level from Halo 1, where you actually first encounter a guilty spark and you eventually go on to discover the flood. Backwash is designed mostly as a Slayer sort of arena-based map as well. What's really cool about it is it's set in the swamp and it has a really ethereal setting to it. It's very foggy. Your field of view is very limited. It kind of has this claustrophobic, intense feel to it. The next map we have coming out is Elongation. And Elongation is another pseudo-port from Halo 1. Fans of Halo 1 remember a map called Longest, which is essentially 2 long corridors with a base at either end. Elongation shares the same basic layout, also been completely overhauled. Now the setting is on an orbital space freighter above Earth. It's a pretty small, intense map, probably ideal for maybe 4 to 6 players. Next map we have is called Terminal, one of the larger and more dynamic maps that we have coming out. Been described by some of the design team as sort of Zanzibar Plus. It's more or less asymmetrical. There's a base on one side, a kind of a garage base on the other side. Fairly large. The defining aspect of Terminal, though, is it actually has a monorail track that runs through the map. And if you happen to play too close to the tracks, you're going to learn the hard way that those types of impacts can be deadly. Terminal is really a great map. There's tons of nooks and crannies. It is set in the New Mombasa cityscape, so you have skyscrapers and everything you expect to find in the city, from the train station itself to garages to repair bays. A lot of really great vantage points and great weapons to go and hunt for. Another defining point about Terminal is that it was actually built primarily to be a vehicle map. The defensive team starts out with a Wraith right outside their base, and the whole map is sort of built to focus on the vehicle-vehicle encounter. I think you'll find right away that if you don't get the Wraith, your chances of winning are basically nil. The 5th map is called Relic. Relic is essentially one big island, sort of set in the middle of the ocean. It's a big outdoor, wide, expansive environment that has plenty of rocks and things to grab cover on with one central base. Cool thing about Relic is it was primarily designed for sort of the single flag CTF experience. You have a defensive team that starts with a very big sort of fortified base. Offensive team starts on the beach. Cool thing about Relic, though, is literally the flag spawn point and the flag capture point are in very close proximity. From the time you actually start the game, you can see the flag, it's right there. But it actually happens to be way up off the ground. The base is extremely elevated. The only way to get to it is to go all the way back around. So it kind of presents these options where it becomes challenging to get into the base, but once you're in, you throw the flag off the edge, it's just a few steps to scoring. Obviously the maps are the most, what most people are looking forward to on those discs, but there are some additional content as well. We have a documentary featurette that was produced by the same film crew that we had working with us for all the making of Halo 2 stuff that we shipped last year with our limited edition version of the game. The second piece of video content is a brand new cinematic. No, it's not the real ending of the game, as a lot of people have expressed. It's actually a side story cinematic that takes place in the old Mombasa part of the campaign of Halo 2. And it's a parallel series of events that players actually are never exposed to. You actually see the beginning of this in the game and the end of it, but you never quite know what happens in the middle. So our cinematics and animation team decided that would be a really cool story to tell, and that cinematic is on the disc as well. The multiplayer map pack will be on retail stores in the US on June 28th. It's for $19.99. The 5 maps themselves can also be purchased over Xbox Live for $11.99.
I'm Frank O'Connor from Bungie Studios. I'm content manager for Bungie.net. Well, I've been here for more than 48 hours while we do the Halo review event. Basically, the timing and the scheduling of the game meant that we had to bring people to this hotel suite in San Francisco, and they're all sitting here with surround headphones playing the game on 30-inch widescreen HD TVs and hopefully having fun. So today is the final day. Today is multiplayer, and before this they've all played through the single-player campaign. So the campaign mode is, it's story-driven, of course, primarily story-driven. You can do all the stuff that you've seen in the multiplayer. You can dual wield, you can board vehicles, but mostly we're continuing the story from where we left off on Halo. So Covenant of Found Earth, and among your first missions is battling them on the streets of Earth, and that's pretty much where the game sets off. A little more to it than that. There'll be a few surprises for people right in the first 5 minutes of the game. There's definitely more to the plot. I mean, I think that the characters and scenarios that you encounter in Halo 2 are a lot deeper and richer than those in Halo. Part of that is just because events have accelerated and built up so much since the first game that there's a lot more going on. There are more characters, there are more events, the story is played out on a bigger dramatic canvas. Not to be too pretentious about it, but that's really how it is. I think that if you read the Halo novels, you'll definitely get some useful background information on the Covenant politics, the human hierarchy, the locations, and some of the events. There's some cool details in there that apply nicely to the game, but you absolutely don't need to read them, but most people who do read them seem to enjoy them, so I'd certainly recommend it just for a good read. So the new gameplay is stuff a lot of Halo fans are probably familiar with, having read the message boards and magazines for the last year or two. So we have dual wielding. You can dual wield any weapon that you can hold, like a pistol. Obviously you can't dual wield 2 sniper rifles or 2 bazookas or anything like that. So we've implemented a bunch of subtle balancing tricks with the combinations of weapons especially, and I think players are going to have fun trying out different types of weapons in dual wielding mode. Try Needler with a pistol, say, and see how that works out. In single player, you'll find that boarding is a huge deal. It's not a gimmick. You need vehicles to get around, and you also can pretty successfully stop a dangerous vehicle by boarding it, as well as simply stealing it. So if you're being attacked by a plasma mortar hurtling wraith tank, then boarding is actually a pretty significant way to stop it. So boarding is pretty basic for some vehicles. The Ghost, for example, you just press and hold X if you're near a slow-moving Ghost and you're pointed at it, and you'll knock off the driver and take over. On a Wraith, for example, it gets more complicated. The driver's in a sealed compartment, so the only way you can get him out of it is to pummel him to death and then hoist him out. So there's variations in boarding. Boarding a passenger seat has a different effect, obviously, than boarding a driver's seat. And you can even board the Banshee. Maybe one of the coolest things you can do in multiplayer is take a flying leap from a ledge, fall 50 feet, land on top of a Banshee, haul the pilot out, chuck him to his death, and take off in the Banshee. And it never gets any less humiliating when that happens to you. I think very, very simply put, players are going to understand very quickly, maybe within an hour or two of starting the game, why we haven't revealed any of the single-player storyline. Events and circumstances change in such a dramatic fashion that to even hint at what it is would be to ruin a nice, pleasant, or unpleasant surprise. So things that have changed since you last saw multiplayer is that we basically opened up a lot of things that weren't available to you during the beta. A lot of rules. You can customize game types to be however you want. You can have touch flag to return. You can have any time limit you like. Place or remove vehicles and weapons from maps. Do whatever the heck you like. We've also revealed a bunch more maps. The one behind me isn't necessarily terribly new, but the people here at this event will have seen some new maps. Some of them are cool. Colossus is a fantastic map, huge environment, really beautifully lit, lots of places to hide, but also lots of moving, exploding, and bouncing objects, which makes it kind of a trip. Old favorites, Zanzibar, you're used to it, but it's been improved. It has nicer water. It's a little tighter. Some of the gameplay's been tuned, mostly invisible stuff. And basically, we've just opened up all the stuff that was there that we just didn't have the chance to show the press yet. So you have 12 levels to start with in the game, multiplayer. Obviously, we're going to have some downloadable content later. And also, really hardcore players might find some pleasant surprises in the multiplayer map list if they look hard enough. So hardcore Halo fans, I think, are going to, within the first hour of playing, they're going to pick up a lot of the new techniques, weapons, and features of the game. And then they're going to start finding the subtleties, the way that weapon combos work out, and the way that weapon balance and level balance works out. I think, though, more importantly, that mainstream players who play on Xbox Live are going to find that the barrier to entry is greatly lowered. I mean, you can go in, having never played the game before, and play against people of your skill level. That allows you to improve. That means you play people a little better skill level, because the game carefully tracks how good you are at it and what your experience is. So you should be enjoying compelling, challenging games that are never too easy and never too hard for a long time.
Well, most of the casting was mostly done as you would cast for a movie. We picked people who were best suited to the role. So you'll see people like Ron Perlman and Tim DeDavo and a bunch of returning characters. Obviously, Cortana is back and Sergeant Johnson are back. But the AI cast is not only pretty funny sometimes, can be serious too. But we have some real Halo fans in the cast. We have Michelle Rodriguez, we have David Cross, we have a few other surprises. I think people are going to enjoy hearing the AI cast speak and interacting with them. Try giving them a crappy weapon in exchange for their rocket launcher. You'll elicit some pretty funny responses for that. I think the first thing that fans should look for in 2 days when they pick up a game is Bungie employees trying to enjoy 1 or 2 days of glory while we have a huge advantage over hardcore players. Well, we know the maps and we know the weapons, so look for us. We'll be the guy who just stabbed you from behind from an impossible height.